Hello, welcome everybody. Just allow some people to roll in. Today we're going to talk about neurochemistry of motivation. What does that mean? Well, what's actually happening in my body, when I'm motivated to do all different kinds of things? Notice that Cam is saying hi. Love when everybody says hi in the chat and makes me feel like I'm not alone here. Here's me, Michael in Brunswick. Let us know where you're coming from. Yeah, lovely to see everybody showing up today. Look, I don't know if anybody was here last month for Calm in the Storm, but there's a little bit of a continuation here. There's going to be a bit of a connection. Oh, we got people from all over today. New Zealand, Brisbane, nice. Adelaide, oh, we got all the bases covered. All right, 50 people, 12:31. We better dive in here. I'd like to start out acknowledging the traditional custodians. We're each on a different piece of land today, on a different part of country. And yeah, so I would like to pay respects to the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation that are the traditional custodians here, and also their elders past, present, and emerging, and any Torres Strait Islander or Aboriginal people who are here today. So welcome everybody. As you can hear, my voice is a little different than usual. I've been caught by the seasonal whatever is going around, and been doing all the chicken soup today and all the ginger, and hopefully my voice is gonna make it through the session. All right, that's me. I'm a psychotherapist and I'm one of the coaches here at UPRISE. So now that we've all gotten to know each other already, feel free to reach out anytime. There are a lot of great coaches here at UPRISE, and if you're here at this session, there's a good chance that you have access to the program. So take advantage of it. Do some coaching, do some therapy. It's there for you. It's probably paid for by your employer, and so dive in. All right, here we are. So if you've done anything with me before, you might be familiar with this slide. This is a really important aspect here. You are a body, right? So every part of you is physical, even your thoughts, even your feelings, electrical impulses, chemical messengers traveling from one part of the brain to another. So this is what we're here to try and acknowledge today, that different motivational factors or non-motivational factors also have to do with physical things that are taking place within our bodies. And hopefully being more aware of that can help us to work with lack of motivation or too much motivation in certain areas, right? So with your body being an access point to the present moment, we're going to take one split second here to just acknowledge our bodies. Try to not be just here behind the eyes, driving around in our flesh suit, looking out at the world. No, we are a body. Allow yourself to notice that. Feel your whole body. Feel yourself sitting in the chair, and then let go a little bit more. Really let the chair hold you. One big deep breath. All right, now that we're in our bodies, let's dive in. So the limbic system. Last month, we Calm in the Storm. There was a big focus on stress, fear. We were talking about the amygdala. Now we're going to start, and so we're going to start from there. We're going to work from what's happening in the body when we are being motivated by stress or fear. So the amygdala picks up on a danger signal, sends a message to the hypothalamus, and then what happens? So the hypothalamus releases corticotropin releasing hormone. This hormone travels through the body, not to the pineal gland, sorry, to the pituitary gland, which releases adrenocorticotropic hormone. Adrenocorticotropic hormone travels to the adrenals, the kidneys, and the adrenals produce cortisol. So cortisol is responsible for a lot of things. It's not just stress. Our metabolism, inflammation, blood pressure, blood sugar, and sleep, believe it or not. So why does, and this can make sense if we think about it, right? So cortisol being a response for inflammation. Well, inflammation happens for a reason, right? It's a part of a healing process. So when we're experiencing a lot of stress and there's a lot of cortisol in the body, you might notice that your areas of inflammation get worse. For me, it's my knee that gets swollen. And for some people it's knuckles, and so there is a connecting factor here. We're trying to acknowledge all those little things that are happening that we don't realize. So when we're motivated by stress, which a lot of us are, right, waiting till the last minute, getting that thing done, it's like, oh, why can't I be motivated? Why can't I be motivated? Why can't I motivate? Well, I've been allowing myself to be motivated by stress for so long that I'm waiting until that kicks in, and that can be addictive too, right? Does anybody kind of resonate with that, right? It's a little bit like exciting to do something under pressure. And some of us, that might be where we get our motivation from. But there can be side effects to this, right? Like inflammation in the body, like trouble getting to sleep because there's too much cortisol flowing through the body. So, in this moment, we have more access to energy. We have these immediate problem solving abilities. Our sensory processing of what's happening in the immediate environment might get a little bit better, right? But immune function goes down, ability to digest goes down, ability to see the bigger picture, to connect, to empathize. So, we're acknowledging that yes, stress can be a great motivator sometimes, right? And a great pressure, but at what cost? So this is kind of the question that we want to get into here. Now, also, um, sometimes it can be a demotivator, right? I create a lot of stress around a particular task. So this particular task feels like it's going to be really big, right? And it's not going to be very rewarding along the way, because a small task, oh, ding, I'm done my task, check, I get that reward, right? We're going to talk about dopamine to follow, and other reward systems. So this big task that I have to do, or something that I feel like might disappoint somebody else, or maybe it won't be perfect, now I've created a lot of stress around this. So every time I look at that task, I immediately will find myself scrolling Instagram or something, right? Because I look, I see the stress, and I just want to turn away. So this system that can motivate us can also do the opposite. Are we all kind of on the same page? Are we feeling it? And is this resonating with people? I also want to acknowledge this connection between ADHD and stress. So we've got a huge amount of people who are now identifying with an ADHD diagnosis. And that's great. It's great that now there's a lot of language for people to talk about these things, and oh, there's a certain way that my brain works, and now I can find strategies that people use to kind of manage these things, right? But it's interesting because for some people, this is just how they were born and how their brain works. For some people, it can be related to stress. Now, if you take the symptoms of stress in the body, sensitivity to danger signals, short-term memory loss, hard time empathizing or putting ourselves in other people's shoes, language skills, ability to sit still. These are all symptoms associated with ADHD, and they're all symptoms associated with stress. So sometimes a history of trauma can leave us hypervigilant because the body has now incorporated this danger, this idea of danger. And now we find ourselves hypervigilant all the time, watching out for this potential for danger. And therefore, our brain is acting just like an ADHD brain. Frontal lobe is shutting down often, and we're just having a hard time doing all these things. meaning we end up feeling really unmotivated, right? Because it's really hard and because we feel misunderstood and overwhelmed, right? As Erica says. So, how do I stay focused? Now, a part of this can be, is it stress or ADHD or just shared symptoms? Look, I cannot tell you that. What I can say is a very interesting book about this is called Scattered Minds by Gabor Mate. I highly recommend it, whether you have ADHD or have just been acting on under stress for a long period of time. It's extremely helpful and interesting book. And either way, now a person with ADHD, anyways, will end up stressed because there's all this pressure that we put on ourselves to do all of these things. And actually, the pressure is just as debilitating as as the thing itself. So sometimes allowing for distractions can help us to stay focused. Now that might sound wild, but um, like if I get distracted and then I start getting mad at myself about being distracted, well, now I've created all this stress in my body around getting distracted. How can I? Oh, okay, I get distracted, and that's all right. Let's just come back. Can you see how different that is? How different is that for my nervous system? It's just a different type of self-talk that's helping me to come back to this, right? Maybe take an intentional break. If you find yourself, again, procrastinate, or I go to do another task, okay, I'm very distracted right now. I'm looking for other things to distract me. What's happening here? All right. Clearly, I'm stressed about something. Clearly, I'm avoiding something. Can I identify that thing, clarify that I'm avoiding it, and go, oh, all right, let me come back to that at such and such a time. And let me intentionally take this time for a real break that is actually resourcing because now I don't have the thing in the back of my head. If I'm just there scrolling Instagram, the whole time I'm feeling bad about the thing I'm not doing, right? Surely, other people can resonate with that. You're like, know that you should be doing a thing, you're not doing it, but you're feeling bad about it. That's not a break for your nervous system. Your body is just desperately looking for something to get away from the stress. And the stress is just there hovering over you, right? It's exhausting. So let's try not to make a big deal about it. The more we can allow for some distractions, allow for breaks, I don't have time. I don't have time. Well, maybe you do have time for that yoga class because actually, for the rest of the day, you're so much more calm and present that everything's happening more efficiently. All right. I was going to do a little midway meditation, but I feel like there's a lot to get through. So we're going to skip that for now. Um, the idea is just that if you can allow yourself to come back to the present, then and give yourself a break from the stress for a second, just one deep breath, that can be enough to actually get your brain a little more clear and a little more focused. Now, we're back here, right? So the pituitary gland is actually responsible for a lot, right? Releasing hormones into the body. When I am getting dehydrated, the pituitary gland releases a hormone to tell my kidneys to recycle the liquid in the body instead of letting it out as waste. All kind of things, right? So when the pituitary gland um, is involved in also the release of oxytocin in the body. And dopamine is a little more complex. It's not directly related to a hormone. But these two together are titled the happy hormones. But I don't want that to be misleading. Actually, there are some downsides, and we're going to talk about that today. So, together, these can be associated with the love buzz, the feeling of connection to other people. We could get butterflies, right? Ooh, that all sounds really great. So, what could go wrong? All right, I just want to tune into Lucas's comment here using Pomodoro session. Regular time breaks. Yeah, exactly. That's something that I do as well. I just have a little reminder that says, hey, where you at? Or take a breath. Or it could say anything, whatever's the thing for you, right? And it's just this reminder to come back to the present. Just a little ability to come back to the present. A doctor told me they rarely diagnose ADHD. Look, there is a lot of complexity here, right? Why? Why the ADHD? Why is my brain, not functioning well under stress? Is the doctor trauma informed? Is the doctor able to acknowledge these things? Is the sure, the medical system in some places says, oh yeah, here, take this drug. And that's really good for some people. I have a friend who just went on Ritalin and was like, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, I've been suffering all my life. It works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody. And it does have downsides. So if we can approach this and say, what are the other things that we can check off the list first? Can I acknowledge if I'm under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure from different streams of my life? If I have a history of trauma that maybe I could address with a therapist, these things might be some steps along the way. So I don't want to deny ADHD as a thing, but there's a checklist we can tune into. So the cuddle hormone, oxytocin, or is it? So oxytocin is really responsible for connection and attraction. The baby's born, we hold the baby, we're flooded with oxytocin. This doesn't happen for everybody, right? This is a lot to do with postpartum depression and stuff like that. These hormones, they don't always do exactly what they're expected to do. So that can be very confusing. So reproductive system, childbirth, lactation, that's the oxytocin, the flood, it helps the milk come in, but this can also contribute to antisocial feelings. So let's acknowledge the connection first. I pet a dog. I get that feeling. Oh, the dog looks up at me with those eyes. Oh, I'm being flooded with oxytocin. So is the dog, right? So we're connecting. Or mammals have this experience, right? That's even why I like whales, people connecting and touching and looking them in the eyes, and the same sort of thing is happening, right? So it can happen interspecies, it can happen with each other, but oxytocin, it's not just a connection hormone, it can actually amplify polarization and disconnection as well. So basically, let's say, especially if I'm someone with a history that I have a reason to be suspicious, or if I'm somebody who has been in the role of a protector. Um, it's the idea of kind of going back to tribal society, and that I'm also being rewarded for noticing something that doesn't belong. This doesn't fit. You're not from our tribe. There's potential danger there. So what happens is that as much as I can be rewarded for connecting, I can also be rewarded for putting up a boundary, because there's motivation in staying safe. So this can create the in crowd or the out crowd, right? We're not longer living in tribal society. So in this society in Australia, this doesn't make sense. This is not actually helpful motivation. Um, and then you amplify this because in person, there's a lot going on. So I might not recognize you. So I might be getting a reward from questioning you. But when you look me in the eyes and we make a connection and we start to talk, even though you might think differently or be from a different place than me, I'm also getting rewarded for connecting with you. So these two systems are working side by side and we're kind of figuring it out. Now, you put me behind a computer, and then what happens? Maybe I've got, again, I've got a little bit of a history of trauma or a reason to be suspicious, or, I'm just, wanting to stick with my tribe and I'm wanting to stand up for what I believe in, and I'm getting rewarded for that. So I'm actually getting a reward out of pushing back against what you think and stepping back even further into my stance. So we can see this happening in our society. not all motivation that's taking place in our body is necessarily helpful. So these hormones can bring us together and they can also push us apart. Now, another aspect of this can be uh, you feel familiar because you remind me of my family. You remind me of my parent. And so I'm attracted to you. I naturally feel safe with you. And my body releases these hormones that says, feel safe with this person. But actually, I wasn't safe with my parent. And I'm not safe with you either. But my body is actually telling me this situation, this is familiar, this is right, even if it's not. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but these hormones that are meant to motivate us to connect with each other, they can actually sometimes also act in a way that isn't necessarily helpful. I guess I'll just state it like that. So it's just good for us to be aware of this, what's happening, right? Um, all right, dopamine. So dopamine's also a neurotransmitter. A neurotransmitter just basically means a chemical messenger, right? It's carrying the message, and it's mostly associated with reward, but it's obviously more complex than that, right? There's all these hormones working together in the body, and there's an overall complexity of things that are taking place in order to put us in a certain mood or a certain feeling. But let's just focus on this as a reward center. So I eat something that's nourishing, I get a reward. Let's say we go back to like living in the wild, and this kind of reminds me like, oh yeah, come back to this place. Oh, come back, look for this bush, because when you found that bush, you got berries off of it. That was good. Okay, you got a reward. Your body's telling you, yes, yes, yes. Remember this moment, feel rewarded by this moment, come back here. Now, in modern day society, we have like deep fried cheese filled salty yum yum everything, right? That's possible. And so imagine you eat something like that and your system goes, wow, mega reward, right? Overwhelming reward. And so that can be a little bit confusing because now I'm being motivated to do things that might be not great for me if I do them all the time. This also exists with social media and stuff like that, right? So if I get this reward from, posting something and watching the likes come, or even just looking and scrolling and being able to like things myself, and I'm interacting, and it's really like immediate reward, 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 reward. I'm literally just like, this is a reward box, not just social media, but I can also gamble on here. I can, all kinds of things. So I just have this built-in reward in my pocket. Well, now I'm trying to be motivated to do work. Now, I also get a dopamine reward. I also get an oxytocin reward, serotonin, all these things are involved in rewarding me when I complete something, when I do something that makes somebody else happy. But this one is immediate, right? So as soon as this work that I'm looking at becomes a little bit stressful, I didn't even notice that. How did that happen? I sat down, I was starting to work, and there I was, scrolling again. Surely this is familiar, right? It's happened to all of us at some point in time. Um, and so this is complicated. This reward system that can potentially motivate us to do good things, to eat good food, to exercise, all of that stuff. If we find ways and shortcuts to getting that reward without having to actually put in the work to get there, why wouldn't we just do that? Right? And so, again, something good to be aware of. Can I, just know what this is? Can I limit my relationship to this? Um, they talk about, uh, you know, okay, so dopamine also relies on receptors. So when the dopamine kind of travels along the neural pathway and arrives to the receptor and connects. then this is when we, get the reward, right? When we really overwhelm this system, let's say through drug use, especially stimulants, um, some of these receptors potentially shut down because they go, oh, wow, 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 there's so much dopamine floating in the body. Um, I guess we must not need all these receptors. Potentially over time, this can make it harder to experience happiness or experience reward because we've flooded that system so much. And it can take time for the brain to heal. And so it's just good to know these things, right? Oh, this is what's going on. Okay, if am I, this is going to be a hard first step away from my relationship to that thing that I'm experiencing as addiction. But now that I understand how this motivation is working, and I understand, okay, I can also be motivated by other things. It's just going to take a little bit of work to get there, but it will get there, right? So knowing what's happening in the body gives you power to be aware, right? And to not just be a slave to whatever's going on. So these are some things that we can do, just even listening to music, right? Delicious food that doesn't have to be unhealthy. Sexual activity, meeting goals, set small goals. If you have a job if you have a task that's really stressful because it's a big task, see if you can break it down into little small aspects and see what you can, so you can make like a checklist. And then every time you get a little something done, you can check it throughout the day. And that's going to help you to feel more rewarded by each step along the way. Does that make sense? Yeah, so caffeine and other stimulants are also things that do this. Can we, think, all right, well, maybe I've been drinking 3 coffees a day. What would happen if I just drink some tea? I'm flooding my system a little bit less. I'm still getting that reward. I'm still getting something. We're just talking about from where we're at. What's one step in this direction to try to acknowledge these things? We don't want to try to take huge steps, right? Huge steps is like we end up kind of failing and then we feel bad about ourselves and then it makes it not worth it because we actually swing back further in the other direction. So let's just take some small steps from where we're at and also consider all these little things that we can do that help to reward us. Pet a dog, hug somebody, you know, um, have a conversation. If you've been in the office all day, right, and your office is in your home, and talk to another human, even just like going down to the coffee shop and getting served a coffee and looking somebody in the eyes. It's meaningful, right? We're mammals. We're meant to connect with each other. So it is important. All right. I don't know if we have time for serotonin versus dopamine. There's a lot here. Serotonin is created in the gut rather than in the brain. It's a little different. And basically, serotonin, when it as a reward, is a little bit more associated with like the calm and cool long-term focus. Whereas dopamine, when we're kind of trying to connect with that, it's a bit of a bigger reward, but then we kind of get addicted to it. And it's sort of like we search for quicker ways to get it. So serotonin is like when we can be in that place where we have a balanced diet and we're, doing the right things, we just kind of feel good throughout the day. It's a little more sustainable. Relying on dopamine means we're constantly going up and down and up and down. So we already got into some of these real life interactions. Accept what you cannot control. Take responsibility for what you can. You are enough. I love this slide, so I've been throwing it in a lot lately. Thanks for showing up, everybody. I would love to just take a little moment, just one moment. We've talked about a lot of things. If you have a second, let's just settle into the chair. Notice your body, let yourself be heavy. Follow your awareness up your spine, into your scalp, your forehead, behind your eyes, your jaw. Big deep breath. There we are. Connecting with yourself, connecting with this moment, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everybody. Please jump on the link and give us some feedback. We love your feedback. There's a lot of support on the app. You can check out some of our different I can't remember what they're called, all of the different exercises that exist there. There's some for mindfulness and all these other things around stress. And we've got coaches, and excuse my voice, I made it through. All right, thanks everybody. Have an awesome day. Bye.